Okay, this video is again from the book Best Christian Art by me, Pete Rogers, and this will be like paintings from the 1800s in Europe in part number 5. Okay, so we sort of finished up on this painting last time, The Rock of the Ages by Johannes Ortel, and sort of a beautiful painting. And what I believe is society, when you've got Christianity, it can unite the whole population, make everybody as happy as they're going to be. Don't get me wrong, I know it can be overdone. I think the Puritans were kind of crazy. I'm currently reading the book Scarlet Letter, and they overdid everything. They were a pain in the butt. But a society needs something to hold together, and it doesn't have that right now in contemporary America. And I think this multiculturalism idea that, it used to be they said, you're an American, out of many one, the melting pot. I think that was a good thing. Now it's all the different cultures are being promoted to keep to their own ways. And I think that's being done intentionally to weaken them. As the population's not unified and it's kind of turning the USA into a gynocracy, it's very weak. And I hate to say it, but I hope it doesn't happen, but everything I can see suggests the United States is returning to slavery, so I hope that doesn't happen, but it's moving rapidly in that direction. We'll see what happens in November. Okay, here's The Melancholy Thinker, Il Pensahero by Thomas Cole. True thinkers are often melancholy, and she's praying to the Virgin Mary there. What this painting totally reminds me of, if you've ever read the book Pinocchio. Pinocchio, he was a good guy, a good kid, but he kept screwing up, and the blue haired fairy, which is really sort of like his mother, his guardian angel. He didn't do what he promised her he would do, and then it seemed like she had died, and he was sobbing and sobbing at her grave. This painting totally reminds me of that. I actually, I think, showed the painting in my recent book review lecture of Pinocchio. So anyways, that painting will always mean that to me, and so it's a beautiful painting. Okay, here is Paying for Peeping by John Caldecott Horsley. Okay, and this is from 1903. And it's just a good painting, the younger guys trying to see what's going on with the teenagers, And you see a joy of life, joy de vie in all these paintings. They're great. Okay, Saying Grace with Mama by Jean-Baptiste Chardin. And, the best school is a home school, okay? You learn how to behave. What do you remember from grade school or high school, okay? Please. And the small, old, single-room schoolhouses were better because everybody would teach each other stuff. So anyways, I thought that was a beautiful painting. The next one is The Widower. So this poor guy's trying to raise the kids, and, men, we're built to go outside and deal with the real world. We're just not as good at women at domestic stuff. We're just not. Best person in the world for a baby is mama, then grandma, then dada. But you can kind of see this guy. He's like, trying to figure out how to do his best. Okay, here's another painting just on social support, and this is Filial Piety, the Paralytic by Philip Gruza. And so the gist of this is that, you need your family. Aristotle said it, the family's God's invention for man's happiness, and it's true. Because the idea of a family is cooperation. How can we help each other? Versus in the outside world, there's competition all the time. It's not as kind, thoughtful, friendly, cooperative. So anyways, I thought that was a great example of how social support keeps you alive. This painting right here is called Anguish by Frederick Schenk, and he's just painting sheep, but you get this sense of, sadness, impending doom, the mama sheep protecting the baby maybe even dead already, and maybe that's the Western world with its open borders being rapidly destroyed. How sad it all is. And by the way, the groups that are trying to destroy the Western world, they don't have anything to replace the Western world with, okay? You look at the cows of the moon, east, they do not have anything to replace a Christian society with. In Russia in the 1900s, they bumped off up to, it was 65 million Christians. They burned down 48,000 churches. They just destroyed the society. They made everybody poor. The goal of that stuff is to bring back slavery. To me, it's so obvious. If you've read any history and you know anything about history, society, and all this stuff, it's obvious. But the American public doesn't get it because they've been brainwashed in public schools. That's why they're voluntarily letting themselves be pushed into slavery. That's what it's all about. Reduction of the population size, push into slavery. Okay? Okay, and this is a nice painting also by August Friedrich Schenk, and this is called Lost. And basically, the sheep are, encouraged to rally to the cross. If they rally to the cross and help each other, they might be okay. If they don't, they're screwed. They're toast. They've got some dogs. The sheepdog going to protect them a little bit, but the sheepdog can't do much. There's too many wolves, okay? And this is modern America. There it is. Take it or leave it. That's reality. And you can deny the reality of it, but you'll soon find, take a look at countries that are further along with this nonsense. Take a look at France. Crash and burn. Take a look at some of these other countries. And women talk about wanting to have a nice society and women's rights. They can't even walk down the street in these places because they get brutalized, okay? That's what happens when you get rid of Christianity and you have an open you-know-what down south. Okay, here is entrance to the Grand Canal of Venice. I think I already showed this painting by accident. This is by Canaletto. Canaletto made a lot of nice paintings of Venice. This painting right here is Moonlit Night on Capri by Ivan Ivazovsky. And he's the guy also who painted that painting in the last video on the shipwrecked paintings from 1841. It's quite beautiful. A Russian painter, they had great painters in the 1800s. Okay, now I know I didn't organize these as well as I could have. There's going to be a little bit more of a theme coming up here again. This is Mount Corcoran by Albert Bierstadt. And again, he's like the best environment, naturalist, landscape painter who ever lived. It's a beautiful painting. He was born in Germany, but came to USA at a young age. And, and there's other great landscape painters from the Hudson River School, of course. It was founded by Thomas Cole, the magnificent painter. Okay, but it's wonderful. Oh, I think I showed you that one too. Frederick Edward Church, Niagara Falls. Man, I was going too fast when I made that chapter. Okay, Sierra Nevada by Albert Bierstadt. Just beautiful, spectacular. God the Creator has given us nature. This guy Bierstadt is the best landscape painter who ever lived. It's just magnificent. All right, now for something a little bit different. Woods in the Snow by Petre Mork Munstad. This guy in 1909. It's a nice winter in the Midwest there back in the old days with the horse-drawn carriage. Okay, and now this painting is Wanderer Above the Sea Fog by Caspar David Friedrich from 1817. The wise man, objective observer, the true philosopher. And I forget the name of this type of painting. I think it's a combination of two things. First of all, it's naturalism, romanticism, because the human is relatively small compared to nature around them. There's also, I think, called a Ruckenferger or something, when the gist of it that is, the character's back is to the audience, such that when you look at his back, it's as if you envision yourself in the painting looking out over the sea fog. So anyways, we'll end there for today. I hope that was interesting, enjoyable.